Chakshanatam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapatam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swambadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatapatakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Rakunatam Vitam Tam Shajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishavitam Jam. Everyone. Hey Krishna Karana Dina Bandhu Jagate Gopisha Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kancha Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudate Vanshakapatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyacha Patitanam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama. Yesterday was the was appearance or disappearance? Disappearance of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a great Vaishnava Acharya. So we're going to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we're going to read from Anchalila, chapter 8. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So Anchalila, text number 1. Pangam lagayate shailam mukkamavataya shrutam tat kripahamaham bhande tat kripatam aham bhande Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Shri Guru Dina Dharanam Paramanda Mahavam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even a lame man can cross the mountains and a dumb man can recite Vedic literatures. Text number 2. Durgami Patimayandasya Skala Padya Gatea Mahu Swakripayasti Danena Santastena Gitaprata Shanta Swanta Avalambanam. My path is very difficult. I am blind, and my feet are slipping again and again. Therefore, may the saints help me by granting me the stick of their mercy as my support. Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhattu Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Dasa Raghunath H.I. Guru Karan Charana Bandhan Ya Hoite Vignana Sabhishta Param. I pray to the lotus feet of the six Goswamis, Shri Rupa, Shri Sanatan, Shri Raghunath, Shri Raghunath Bhatta, Shri Gopal, Shri Jiva, so that all my impediments to writing this literature will be annihilated and my real desire will be fulfilled. So Pangam Lagayate Selam Mukhamavata Akshutam. Yet Kripa. This word Kripa means mercy. Kripa. So by mercy, the lame man or woman can cross the mountains. Pangam Lagayate Shelam. And the dumb man, Avatayak Shutam, can speak the scriptures, can speak eloquently. And also there's a third one. And a blind man can see the stars. It's the Adi Leela. 3 things. The dumb man can recite poetry and the scriptures. The lame man can cross the mountains. And the blind man can see the stars. Anda, Deki, Taravane. The blind man can see the stars. So, how can a blind man see the stars? How is it possible that a lame man can cross the mountains? So this is achieved by the Kripa, the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. There's also a verse. I offer my respects unto the Panchatattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, who's able to turn malechas, yavanas, into well-bred gentlemen through the chanting of Krishna's holy name. And this is achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So by Kripa or mercy, malechas or yavanas. So what is a malecha? Before, you may have been malechas, or you may have been yavanas. Sometimes they say the West is malecha desh. Desh, place. Malecha stan, as we have Rajasthan, Pakistan, Phoenixstan, Umshlangastan, Balitostan, Stan, place, the place of the malechas. So malecha means, this is when you all unanimously answer. Huh? Malecha. Malecha, Jagannath, Subhadra Balaram. Malecha, unclean, but Malecha also meat eater. Malecha. And Yavana would mean those that don't follow the Vedic culture, which means Vanashramadam. Sometimes people may ask, are you Hindus? So we're actually followers of the Vanashramadam, the Vana and the ashrams. Vana, the 4 Vanas, the 4 ashrams. So it's by mercy, Kripa, that we find ourselves sitting here in front of Jagannath, Subhadra and Balaram. We shouldn't think it's by my own activities that I'm so smart, that I am smarty pants, that I am so intelligent. We should think we are the objects of mercy. Kripa Patra, the objects of mercy. And this stops us from becoming proud. So, by mercy, we find ourselves in this temple, this very beautiful Jagannath temple, and it's by Kripa or mercy that last weekend we had a Rath Yatra in Tongat. Some of you may have gone. So it was by mercy, Lord Chaitanya's mercy, that I managed to organize the first Rath Yatra in the whole of South Africa. Maybe it was the first one in the whole of Africa, I don't know, but at least South Africa, in 1978. So in 1978, some of you hadn't been born. Huh? Right enough. You were in past life. Past life. Maybe you were on Indraloka. Maybe you were on Brahmaloka and you came down to Phoenix, a somewhat lower destination, but more favorable. This human form of life is the most favorable. It's more favorable than the demigods. Why is that? Because the demigods, they're too handsome. Way beyond Phoenix man. Way, way beyond. What to speak of the demigodesses? You can't calculate. On the thermometer, it's gone beyond 100. The demigodesses. They have material bodies. They don't have spiritual bodies. But if you saw their material bodies and you're a man and of that disposition, not of the other disposition, we have to be woke now. You know that word woke? You would faint. You would actually faint. So we find ourselves here in this human form of life on this earth planet, and it's very favorable. And this is where Lord Chaitanya appeared 500 years ago. We should always remember that. Just 500. It's actually like yesterday. 500 years ago. And Lord Chaitanya gave his mercy. Tumi Vaikuntha Paitava. He took everyone back to the spiritual world. Not just the human beings, but just listen very carefully. What can you hear? The frogs. He also took the frogs back to the spiritual world. And the sardines. 500 years ago, they still had the sardine shoals. They still used to come there. You don't think they just started, in the last 10 years, when you managed to get your bucket. 500 years ago, 5,000 years ago, there was the sea, and the shore was basically the same, and the sardines used to come. So, Tumi Vaikuntha Paitava, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj says, Antya Lila, chapter 3, text 78. I happen to memorize it. It's one of the few things that I could memorize, apart from my name. And even that, it took me like 6 months to memorize that. So, Tumi, what's Tumi? What's Tumi mean? Haridas Thakur is speaking to Lord Chaitanya. Tumi, you, Vaikuntha, Paitaba, P-A-I-T-A-I-B-H-A, Pai, P-A-I, means to give, to deliver, Pai, Paila. Tumi Vaikuntha Paitaba, you will take everyone, you have already, you will take or you have already taken all the jivas, Sarva Jiva Jati, all the jivas in this universe. That's not just India and Bengal and Maharashtra, but China, Europe, America, not forgetting South Africa. But not just this particular earth planet, but all the jivas, Sarva Jiva Jati, Sakla Brahmanda Jivera. Sakala, all, Brahmanda. What does Brahmanda mean? Universe. Lord Brahma's universe. It's called Brahmanda after Lord Brahma, who's the most prominent demigod and also one of our acharyas, because we're in the Brahma Sampradaya. So in this universe, there's many planets, higher planets, middle planets, lower planets. And we're in the middle somewhere, on this earth planet. So Sakla Brahmanda Jivera is mentioned 5 or 6 times in Antya Lila. Lord Chaitanya will take all the jivas. And then Srila Haridas Thakur explains more emphatically. He explains in more detail. Tavat, Stava, Jangami. Tavat. While you are here, Stava, all standing, Stava, Jangami, and all moving. All standing living entities. So what would that be? Trees. A tree is standing. And Stava, Jangami, frogs. And you, human beings. Because we move around. The frog moves. So Stava Jangami, Sarva Jiva Jati. So if we have faith, we should have faith in Srila Haridas Thakur's statement. Then we will appreciate and understand Haridas Thakur's statement that all living entities will go back to the spiritual world. So it's mentioned Tumi Vaikuntha. They will go to where? Vaikuntha. But we just saw the English translation where the author, I forget who is actually the author, says, I do not want liberation. You've repeated this, you saw it. Neither do I want birth in Vaikuntha. I don't want that. I want Goloka Vrindavan. And I want to see Mother Yasoda, cowhide boys, gopis. This is the prayer. So this, of course, is very exalted and very high. And when Prabhupada preached, he didn't make so much the distinction between what we will call Vaikuntha Bhav and Goloka Vrindavan Bhav. He didn't make that distinction so much. And so many times Srila Prabhupada quoted the prayers of Prahlad. But Prahlad is destined for Vaikuntha, because Lord Nrsimhadev is a resident of Vaikuntha. Lord Nrsimhadev and the great Mahajan Prahlad, they have no entrance into Vrindavan. Zero. Vrindavan is for Narottam Das Thakur, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan. So Prabhupada didn't really emphasize this so much because it's a little esoterical and it's for those who are more advanced. But still, Prabhupada gave us the Krishna book, which is the pastimes of Lord Krishna. And when did he give us that? 1970. And Bhagavad Gita translation, unabridged, printed by Macmillan, it only came out in 1971. So what does this indicate? Bhagavad Gita is like entrance. Like I'm looking at the entrance of the temple there, the door. But Krishna's pastimes, 10th canto, is somewhat superior. So that's why Prabhupada gave us the Krishna book in 1917. So I'm just going to read now. This is confirming now what I said. Translation, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj speaking. I am now almost an invalid because of old age, and I know that at any moment I may die. Therefore, I have already described some portions of Ancha-lila. So Ancha-lila is the final pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri, and is considered to be superior. Lord Chaitanya's mission, Lord Chaitanya's activities in Jagannath Puri, Vipralamba Setra, extremely high. So Prabhupada writes, following in the footsteps of Krishnadas Kaviraj, I am trying to translate the Bhagavatam as quickly as possible. However, knowing myself to be an old man and almost an invalid because of rheumatism, I have already translated the essence of all literatures, which is the 10th canto, the smiling face of Krishna. So I have already translated 10th canto of Bhagavatam as a summary study in English. I started the Krishna consciousness movement at the age of 70, and now I am 78. So my death is imminent. I'm trying to finish the translation of Bhagavatam as soon as possible. But before finishing it, I've given my readers, that means his disciples, the Krishna book, Pastimes of Krishna. So you can see how important this is, the Pastimes of Krishna. So it was in 1970 actually that Krishna book was printed. Prabhupada translated it. I think it's 10th canto, I think it was 90 chapters. And then Prabhupada needed someone to pay for the publishing. So then he thought, at that time he was in London, so he thought of George Harrison, the Beatles. So he asked, I think it was Mukunda or Shyamasundar. He said, you ask George Harrison. So they were a bit hesitant because they were asking George Harrison for lots of things. But anyhow, they asked him. And George Harrison said, yes, of course. And then George Harrison said, actually, I was waiting. I wanted to give something. So he gave, I think it was $19,000, but he paid for the printing. And we printed in Dainapon in Japan, Volume 1 and Volume 2, Krishna book. And they were very big books. The type of book that you can't even hold with one hand, it's so big. And I used to distribute them in London as a young brahmachari, the big book, give it out to people, And then the Krishna book was printed in paperback, 3 volumes. So that was easier to give out, paperback book. So we should consider how fortunate we are. We're very lucky, we're very fortunate. We may not be materially wealthy, we may not have such fancy cars, but we're more fortunate than materially opulent people. Much more fortunate. We're more fortunate than the demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, Yamaraj, Chandra, the great King Indra. We're actually much more fortunate. And we're connected to the Guru Parampara because we've taken shelter of Prabhupada's instructions. And some of us are initiated, but some of us may not be, but that also doesn't matter. The point is we've accepted shelter under the instructions of Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Narottam. So we should always remember this, always dwell on this point. Very easily we're able to take prasad offered to Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balaram, and Gauranitai. But in the Anchalila, chapter 16, the Lord takes prasad, that's what it's called. There's a verse, Prabhu Kahe, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that this food, which has been touched by the lips of Krishna or Jagannath, is not available even to the demigods. It is far superior than even the nectar on the higher planets. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, in order to take this prasad, samanya kripa. I've used that word kripa. Kripa means, samanya means ordinary. Ordinary mercy is not good enough. No, you need purna, the complete mercy, just to take the prasad. And we take it at least once a week, or we're always taking the prasad of Jagannath, Radhanath. And sometimes even they offer us the Mahaprasad And we say, no. I've gone off puri pata. I've gone off beans curry. I'm on a diet, can't you see? I'm on a diet. Why are you giving me Mangalati sweet? But even the demigods rarely can take it. So you need Purna Kripa, the full mercy. And ordinary mercy is not good enough. Samanya. So we should just remember how fortunate we are. We can just get in the car and drive to the temple here and see Jagannath, or go to the Rath Yatra in Dongat, or go to India and visit Vrindavan or Navadvip, or Jagannath Puri, or even South India, so many Udupi, Rangasetra, Tirupati. Lord Chaitanya visited all these places. So we're very fortunate. We have our beads. We chant the Lord's holy name. So this is our good fortune. So you have to always remember this. And appreciate Vaishnavas and this festival, this 1 month Kartik. And we should not become complacent or depressed or disturbed. This material world, we're talking about this earth planet, it's full of difficulties and problems. So different armed conflicts are going on. Actually, there's over 50 armed conflicts going on now, fighting, people being killed, this and that. So when you start reading about it and hearing about it, naturally we're soft-hearted and you become a little disturbed or depressed. But we should think how fortunate we are, though. And if we can share that good fortune with others, that's nice. That means to preach, to give out food for life, to give out books or magazines, to let people hear the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So we try to get good fortune. So that's what we're trying to do. And guaranteed, Tumi Vaikuntha Paitava, guaranteed, you will take birth in the Lord's pastimes. Tumi Vaikuntha Paitava. Sakla Brahmanda Jivera, Kandale Samsara. When Lord Krishna had appeared, Samsara, he destroyed the cycle of birth and death of every living entity in this universe. Kandare samsara. Karila nishtara. Lord Chaitanya did the same thing. Karila nishtara. He delivered all the jivas. Not just those who are initiated or those who are chanting, but as I mentioned, the frogs who are singing in their language, Hare Krishna. The fish, the birds. So we should always remember this, continue with enthusiasm and offer the lamps. Whenever we can get involved, we should. Jagannath Subhadra Balaram ki jai. Shri Kartik Brat ki jai, Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Would you like to ask any questions? I'll make a comment. Are the frogs in the car park? Usually you get frogs where there's water. There's water in the car park. And then the snake of time, it hears the croaking and then eats them. So human beings, they're talking all nonsense, especially now in America. You know, the election. Just like croaking, honestly, frogs. Because it doesn't have any real reality. Only Harikatha, topics of God, has reality, has some real purpose. It doesn't really matter, this politician or that politician. It's material life, and it will just continue. But we're blessed that we can chant the Lord's holy name and take shelter of Jagannath. It's the same Jagannath I mentioned in 1978. So we were in Tonga, we had a lot of response, very good. So there was no Rath Yatra cart. So I borrowed a Kavadi cart, you know, the Kavadi. And then we washed it and painted, I forget whether we painted it or not. We decorated it. And we put Lord Jagannath on this Kavadi cart. Pulled Lord Chaitanya from the, where the Tonga town hall is now. What do they call it? Outspan ground or something. All the way up to Buffelsdale Stadium, that's right. And then we did a play and gave out prasad. So that was 1978. And it was the same Jagannath. But now, of course, Lord Jagannath has been painted up and replastered. God has been replastered. God has been reinvented and looks very beautiful and very shining. And Subhadra, Balaram. So, would you like to ask any question or say anything?
I just started the 10th canto now, and I'm wondering why there are no verses in the 10th canto. It's like a normal book.
Oh, no, it's how Prabhupada wrote it. It's just how, see, the 10th canto, especially the Vrindavan pastimes, are the highest. Then Krishna leaves and he goes to Dwarka. It's also very nice. But the Vrindavan pastimes are the highest. So how Prabhupada presented it was the pastime, or the lila, and then the next paragraph, or a couple paragraphs, would be the philosophy. It's called tattva. So he mixed the two together. Otherwise, if we just read all the pastimes, Krishna's with the gopis, he plays his flute on the bank of the river Jamuna, chapter 33, 3 billion gopis come and dance with him. It gets a little mind-boggling, isn't it? 3 billion? I mean, I've heard of a man with 3 wives. 30, 300, 3,000 wives. What about 3 billion? It's just, so Prabhupada has to explain the philosophy. Otherwise we think that Krishna and Radharani, they're just ordinary boy and girl. So he left out the Sanskrit verses. And also he described he's an old person. He may die. He wanted to do it quickly. Now if he had to do all the Sanskrit and the word for word, it would have slowed Prabhupada down. So he presented it and he said summary study, summary. It's not the whole thing, it's a summary. But it's suitable for his audience. And his audience were the people of Malacha Desh, the Westerners, the Europeans, the Americans. This was his audience, actually. But we do have the 10th canto presented by Prabhupada's disciples, His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj and Gopi Pranadana Prabhu, who used to live in front of my house, Govardhan Hill, and Dravida Prabhu. So it is there, the Sanskrit and the word for word in the English. So even these frogs, I can't get away from the frogs, living in the car park are special because they're hearing the holy name. And after you've taken prasad, you may go and you may put some little bit here on the lawn, here a little bit there in the car park. And the frogs will eat it. So even these frogs are very special. They're not ordinary frogs. You could call them, if you want, divine frogs.
Hare Krishna. I think Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, I'm not sure if I say the word right, but it's Anga Kama Nyaya, where Srila makes reference to Anga, the one who is lame, no legs, who cannot walk, and then Kama is one who is blind and cannot see. And because you mentioned this about the lame and the legs, that in reference to Srila Prabhupada's explanation, that was very practical for us to take, is that one who is blind can help the one who is with no legs by cooperating from one on top of the other. They can function like a normal person.
All right, Upananda. Give me a translation, please. Urakram, is it? Upananda.
The blind person,
Sorry?
the lame person will be directed.
A lame person.
So the blind person can put the lame person on top of
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
able to walk and function, one guiding the other, one whose leg can see and one that's blind can walk. And together they can function as a normal person. And the reference there was, which was really nice because, and I'm not doing it justice, please forgive me. Srila Prabhupada says that in India we have this spiritual asset, that this knowledge is like a jewel. And the material world, the Western world, has material advancement, but they're blind. And together, by going to the West and together.
Yeah, there's a chapter in Prabhupada Lilamrita, East meets West. So Prabhupada would give the example that the East, he's referring to India, of course, they have the knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Prabhupada said actually outside of India, there is no philosophy. Anyhow, and the West, they have the facility and the money, but they're blind. So you put the lame man on the back, no, the blind man on the back of the lame man. So this is the East meets the West. And this is what Prabhupada did. He used Western technology and published Bhagavad Gita in over 70 languages. So this is all the technology of the West, computers, but the knowledge all came from India. So it's the East and the West meeting together. And we're somewhere in the middle, because we're in South Africa. So I don't know which way we're lending or leaning towards. The east side or the west side. I'm not too sure. Anything else you'd like to ask or say? There you go. So when you leave, then don't forget the frogs. You can put little something for them. So we'll end with a little kirtan, please. A few minutes.